Welcome to the Orange Flag Podcast. So your favorite driver just signed with Penske, but you don't really like Penske. We are here to help you through this trying time. I'm Nicole.
I'm Aries.
I'm Austin, and you probably expected us to start with Penske conversation. You were incorrect. We're going to start with the 60 of MSR, and the fact that, once again, they're cheaters. It wouldn't be the 60 without cheating allegations, but this time, with pole. They had pole, and then they didn't have pole.
The 60 traditions. We've seen this before, right?
If I had a nickel for every time this 6 cheated, I would have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. But the 60 did actually end up on the podium for this race, which kind of a story around this was specifically Tom Blomqvist and his redemption storyline at the Speedway, because if you don't know, Tom Blomqvist lost his IndyCar seat because of his performance in the 500, and then this race weekend was on the podium, so a better result this time around.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was at that Indy 500 where Tom competed that year, and I think he knew I don't think it was because of the Indy 500, I'll say that. I saw him before the race, and, saw him interviewed before the race, talked to him a little bit before the race. And it seemed like he already knew his time was up. I think it may have been one of those, hey, if you finish here or better, we'll give you one more race, but your seat's already gone, versus the storyline that MSR runs, which is because of his poor performance and the damage he did to the car at the Indy 500 that he lost his seat. Just a little, personal aside there on Tom.
Well, in the end, we got Car Wars Revenge of the Quest. Well done him.
Yes. Not so well done to car number 7. I don't really even know what to say about that race, and I don't know that they even really know what to say about that race. It was just uncharacteristic driving from both of them, and I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, I know I've seen a lot about that car being very, very difficult to drive when the weight gets up there, right? The weight in IMSA is still lower than the weight in WEC, and the car's drivable in WEC. Obviously, there's some setup differences, there's some other stuff, but yeah, I don't know what got into Nick Tandy, especially yesterday. He is really the second half of this season, honestly. He started off the season incredibly, and then just it's fallen off from there, and it's concerning, to say the least. I mean, it makes me wonder if he's checked out. Obviously, Nick Tandy has accomplished everything in his chosen discipline of sports car racing that there is to accomplish. So, has he just kind of mentally checked out at this point? And, was he kind of mentally hanging on for Le Mans? And after that, because I will say, it's kind of around the time that the sharp decline happened, right? So,
yeah.
Yep.
Post Le Mans, is he just kind of riding it out to the end of the year and a little bit mentally and emotionally checked out?
It wouldn't surprise me one bit. It is definitely one of those things, though, where if this was the beginning of the season, after seeing the results that these two guys were having at the beginning of the season, if you were to show me the results that they're having now, I definitely would not believe you at all.
If you told me after Sebring that car number 6 would have a commanding lead in the Drivers' Championship, I would be extremely confused. Because they do have a commanding lead right now. I would have wondered if something like lineup-wise happened. Like if someone had to step away from the car or something on the 7 for it to be that dramatic of a turn.
I would have been like, did you forget that Nick Tandy's not in the 6 anymore?
Yeah. The mistakes that Tandy and Nasser were making were not, I'm pushing so hard with a car that's undrivable that I just lost it mistakes. And they weren't, with the exception of one of the penalties, the mistakes weren't, oh, I don't quite get this new style of race control. Because obviously, race control has been night and day from the last GTP race. Obviously, VIR happened, but that was GT only. So the prototype drivers have not seen this new style of race control. Like, they only saw it on TV. They didn't actually see how aggressively it was going to play out with the blocking, with the not leaving space. Like, it's, and we actually kind of talked about this earlier this year regarding F1 penalties, like DTM style penalties for not leaving racing room. And that is exactly what, now, I have not heard anybody equate it that way. This is now DTM style racing room requirement, which that's fine once all the drivers get used to it. The problem is to throw that in at the second to last race of the season, with championships needing to be decided and then being this harsh on penalties. Like, start that fresh next year. Give warnings this year.
Yeah.
And then start it for real next year. It just seems very artificial and very manufactured. Everything about how the latter half of this season has gone has felt manufactured and artificial.
Yeah. No, this change in race control just went so drastic. It was there. Definitely wasn't a gradual thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with the sentiment. Changing it this late in the year, and instead of reviewing everything, keeping everybody sort of, this is going to happen. We're starting this from the Rolex 24 next year. So now just, beware, but we're doing this effectively next year. So it's, sometimes it still catches, at least us, in the side of the spectators, at least catches some of us off guard, because a lot of people were confused, when we were watching, how is this a penalty, or when did this happen, or people were saying, oh, this was quick to be assessed. It was some decisions, I think, weren't, I think they were made within 15 seconds of the incident happening or something, with how quick they were assessed. Yes, this is not the same. It feels like watching a whole different series than we were watching up until Road America.
And I think multiple drivers that have been in IMSA or are currently in IMSA went online and said that.
Yep.
This isn't IMSA anymore. Changing these driving standards changed the series, and I think make the series a lot less appealing to people. As opposed to, especially if you're a GT driver, there are a million other series that you can contest that I think have more fair standards, or at least more long-running standards. Like I said, this is essentially DTM rules now, but DTM has had these rules for a long time. When you choose to do a season of DTM, these are the racing rules. Versus, IMSA has always been a little more, irony because it's owned by NASCAR, a little more NASCAR style, a little more rubbin' is racing. It really has been. Would Ranger's pass on Tandy have been legal under these racing standards? I need to rewatch it because I'm pretty sure he ran Tandy wide.
Yeah.
If I'm obviously, I have only seen the clips of it because we were in the middle of the freaking woods when it happened. So, would that have been a drive-through penalty for the 01 Caddy rather than a celebrated win? that's the stuff that you like. That is probably the highlight of the entire 2024 IMSA season, right? Like, that is the clip that most people talk about. That is the, like, that race, the end of that race is probably the most talked about thing from the 2024 season. And in theory, these rules would have invalidated that result. They would have changed that outcome. So, it's going to be interesting going forward how this changes the series.
Yeah, unless something happens, I'm already saying it. I kinda like the way how these longer IMSA races often would descend into a dance of chaos and destruction in the final quarter, like Sebring. I remember Sebring last year, it was orderly, and then all of a sudden it just wasn't. Every now and again, someone was going off, someone was rubbing their car against someone else, and there were debris, and there was contact, and there was chaos, and there were even penalties, yes, but not like this. We need to make sure there are like minimum regarding standards, but we don't need to make it sanitized to the point where, oh, I'm not going to try this because I'm going to get written up later and I'm going to get a penalty.
Yeah, like even commentators were joking about like, oh, well, we'll see how it plays out for Petit, but maybe the fact that part of it's in the dark will like benefit the fact that we're not going to have like the crazy amount of penalties like we had in this race. Like they were even calling out the fact that there were so many this race compared to what we usually have.
And, like we talked about us being confused, to some extent the commentary team being confused. What I found really difficult was there were a lot of brand new viewers to IMSA, and trying to explain to them, hey, we don't really understand what's going on either, isn't the best look for the series. Like, you just got yourself a ton of new viewers who are here for one reason, and they are seeing longtime fans, the commentary team, the drivers being confused about why things are happening. It's just not a great look for the series.
Not at all. Yeah, I think I did reply to quite a bunch of tweets that people were like, "Oh, this, I don't get, why is this happening now?" Some bits I was like, "Yeah, I'm just as lost as you."
Which that's not great, you know.
Nope.
When you have new fans, especially when people have been saying, "Hey, if this is your first IMSA race, ask me questions." There were a lot of larger accounts on Twitter that then had to say, just like you had to, I'm not really sure what's going on here. I don't understand why that's a penalty. So, yeah, something that maybe needs to be considered by the series. Not that they're going to listen to us.
But if they are, consider it.
There is a possibility.
Yeah. And then I'm not even sure I understand how IMSA BOP works anymore, because I think they just make it up every race because they literally do manual adjustments for everything. But if I have to guess, it is not going to be great for the 963 for Petit because Matt decided to go out and do the fastest lap of the race. So they're absolutely going to use that against us.
It was like the one good thing we had, but it's gonna somehow haunt us in return.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what their calculations are anymore. Like, at the beginning of the season, IMSA BOP made a lot of sense. Like, it was a long rolling BOP and everything. It made sense, but it also, like, carried over season to season and everything. So, like, Cadillac kind of caught it hard because they changed service providers.
Yeah.
I think that Ganassi would have been quicker to start the season if they were still in the series, because they would not have been figuring out the car and had the BOP hit that the car had, versus Wayne Taylor Racing were figuring out the car and had this BOP that they inherited from Ganassi. So, because Ganassi brought it down to Petit last year, still in it for the title. I mean, it only went through qualifying, but they brought it down to qualifying. So that car was good last year. And the BOP at the beginning of the season reflected that. And that's not Wayne Taylor Racing's fault, but I see where manual adjustments for the Cadillac may have come in for that reason. Same thing with MSR. Like, they, I think, operationally are better than Wayne Taylor were with the Acura. So they actually had BOP that was benefiting them when they should have probably had some hindrance, because they came in and they were already comfortable with it. Yes, they took a year off, but they were comfortable with the Acura right away operationally.
Exactly.
So
it wasn't like they had never seen the Acura before. It was just, okay, we've taken a break. Now we're back to the Acura. It wasn't like, oh, we've never seen this car before. We're figuring out this car for the very first time.
Right. Wayne Taylor has worked with Cadillac before, but it was in DPI. It was not with this Cadillac. So before people say, oh, Wayne Taylor has been with, I'm very aware Wayne Taylor has been with Cadillac before.
Yeah.
But even still, in the DPI era, like the final 2 years, they were with Acura anyway, so
yeah,
it had been a while.
Yeah. It wasn't as recent as MSR being like, oh, we just took a year off and now we're back. Like, if it was a longer,
a year off. They got suspended for a year.
Yeah.
Taking a year off makes it sound a little different than it was.
Yeah. Okay. They, had to take a year off.
Got suspended for a year.
Got suspended for a year. Came back. It wasn't like it was a long, like, oh, it's been years since we've seen this car. Trying to remember from years ago how this car was. It was like, we just need to go back a year.
Yeah. And then, as far as kind of touched on it already, the title situation. Car number 6 has a pretty healthy lead in the driver's title. It's not locked up because they do still need to qualify well, and as of right now, they still need to finish the race. So it's not like they don't need to be there. And then there's a 7-point lead in the manufacturers championship. So that's just going to come down to which car qualifies ahead of which car and which car finishes ahead of which car. That's really what it's going to come down to with the manufacturer's title.
Yeah, it's going to be...
That's between Acura and Porsche. And then the 6's lead is over the sister car. And then the 24 BMW is even further back than that, but they're still, and then the 93 Acura is still in it as well. All of them are still technically right there.
Technically.
Yeah. If you thought we were already going to be stressed at Petit, a little bit more.
It's going to be an interesting 10 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say that again.
You know what? I'm just going to sit here knowing the game's gone. Like I'm going to be flying my flag at half-mast. Because the title hopes for me are dead. So, yay, national mourning. Note irony and sarcasm. It's been a day and I still have not let it go. I will hit the acceptance stage eventually.
We'll see how long that takes. For some of us, it takes longer than others.
Wonder who's that?
But I feel like for this race weekend, we can't go without talking about teammate shenanigans. Specifically, teammate shenanigans of the 31. Yes, they won the race, but I feel like my favorite part of the 31 this weekend was just all of their social media content that they were forcing Earl Bamber to be a part of. Because Earl doesn't really do social media content, but Fred and Jack definitely do social media content, and the amount of TikToks and Reels that they all made him do was great. We talked about Porsche and how they didn't really have that great a weekend, but one Porsche did kind of have a good weekend. Congrats to Wright on getting second place in GTD. Tom Sargent. That's our boy. Good job.
Yeah, well.
Our follower on Instagram.
Some might say friend of the show.
Yes. Good job, Tom, and the whole Wright team, because that's a great result, especially kind of given what it looked like the issues that the 77 Porsche was having. The fact that the 120 was able to handle the issues with the car was impressive, really.
Maybe it was the bananas.
Maybe.
Maybe the secret's the bananas.
Yeah, well, if you watch the race or you've been just following social media, really, because it's been covered quite a lot more than I expected. But from one sergeant to another sergeant, Logan made his IMSA debut this week, and well, maybe the end result wasn't really something representative, but the fact that he was able to keep it mostly clean and be on pace from pretty much the very start, I guess that spells something good. I hope it's not just a fleeting glimpse of potential, and I hope it's the start of something more long term.
I will say that I think IMSA TV direction knew that there were a lot of people there that cared about Logan, because the commentary definitely mentioned it a lot more, and it felt like there was a lot more coverage of LMP2 than there typically is in
True.
one of these 4-class races. So
Yeah.
that was cool, because I feel like a lot of the times you kind of just see LMP2 when they're crashing, and that happened this time, but there was also
Really?
just actual genuine coverage of it.
Yeah, which I'll say, as just a general LMP2 fan, it was nice to finally see the class getting like actual coverage besides just, oh, one's in a wall. Which, I mean, like you said, did happen, but I wasn't expecting us to get as much LMP2 coverage as we did, so I'll take it.
Yeah, same.
So WEC silly season is like in full swing now. Genesis has confirmed-ish 2 more drivers. Matthew Stroper and Danny Unkadea have been locked in for some role as drivers in the team. The only reason I can see for them not announcing them as the full-time second drivers in addition to Durrani and Lauderer is that there's some negotiation going on behind the scenes with some other big name drivers, whoever those could be, for whatever reason. There are a lot of names that are rumored to be moving around, and I think that Genesis would be talking to people. Anybody that's being rumored to be moving. Is Stoffel Van Dorn a stronger second driver for the car than either of these two? Probably, because he has a lot of hypercar experience, And then you've got the crazy wild cards of, if Porsche decide to pull out, you now have some of the best drivers in the series on the market. Do Genesis lock those guys in? That there is a reason, and I don't know what the reason is, but there is a reason that Ikadea and Jobert were not announced as the second drivers for the car. They were just announced as positioned to be named later, but they are in the car. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yes. My only thought process when I saw the announcement was, if anyone wants a Corvette factory seat, there's an opening now. So that was my first thought process.
I couldn't even speak with enough confidence on who is in Corvette's ladder to potentially get one of those seats. If it was Porsche, I could tell you, but I don't follow GM's junior team enough to really say who could even be a possibility.
It's also, their junior team isn't quite the same way as like Porsche's is.
I think only BMW really has a junior team in the same way, but like,
exactly.
who's driving for Corvette in other series?
Yeah.
Like, they have
Well, that's the
cars
thing.
in other series. It's
Yeah.
not the same guys that are in WEC in every series, so there's got to be someone from there that can move up.
Yes.
I just
But
don't know
the
off the top of my head
factory
who those
opening,
guys are.
Maybe we're gonna see what happens after the Asian Le Mans series wraps up, because they're running quite a bunch of Corvettes over there.
They are.
They are.
Maybe they'll use that as a proving ground, because we're gonna have 4 cars in the field.
That would
wouldn't
be a
surprise
very
me.
good idea.
Yeah.
And then, as far as Porsche does go, I have a lot of dramatic ideas for Porsche because they've got a lot of drama going on.
True.
It
Yes.
seems like Deborah Mayer is done with racing. So I think the Iron Dames are going to be out in all series. I think that is including WEC. I think that Antares Al will take over the second Manti car in WEC.
Interesting.
I think he brings, and this is really going to upset the Michelle Gadding fans out there, but I think he brings Klaus Bachler back to WEC as his pro driver. You know, the spot that arguably you'd like to see Michelle stay in. I then think that Michelle actually takes sort of the Alessio Picariello role in Rexy, does the endurance rounds, and then I think Bastian Boos goes to Rexy for full time. Although, I don't know. Because after this weekend, I really do think Nick Tandy's done. So I think Lauren Heinrich is out of Rexy. So maybe it is Michelle and Bastian for Rexy.
Maybe.
And Lauren Heinrich's in car number 7.
It will
Like
be
this
all
musical chair.
interesting. Yeah. Lots of
It's
musical
Porsche
chairs.
musical chair.
Way too much time thinking about possible Porsche lineups because they have so many factory drivers, and to figure out the correct place to put all of them, because especially Michelle Gadding, right? Because if the Iron Dames program is gone, sorry, but all the rest of the girls are kind of out of luck and are going to have to find separate funding and separate ways to race. Michelle is a Porsche factory driver on the same level as Bastian Boos, on the same level as Lauren Heinrich, on the same level as Klaus Bachler. So she, in theory, should be given all of these same opportunities that those guys are. Obviously, she's been a factory driver less time than all of those guys, but she still should be given those opportunities and should be basically safe with Porsche as opposed to all the other people that are driving for the Iron Dames right now.
Yeah. I will say one thing I've seen kind of floating around social media, because we tend to talk about what we're seeing online too, is with the speculation of if Antares takes over the other WEC car, Lokartog going with him too, just because of their connection as well. So that's been another thing that's been speculated online.
Lokartog has been in every car that Antares has fielded this year.
Exactly.
And it does not appear that he is going to be upgraded to gold for next year, just based on the FIA classification website. So that actually leaves him in a very good position to fill that silver role in that Manti car. So, I mean, that would be, and I mean, that's a very good lineup. You know, you're talking a very competitive lineup if you're looking at Klaus, Loke, and Antares. Like, those are 3 drivers that will be able to get it done. Klaus Bachler obviously is a LMGT3 champion, so we know he can get it done.
Yes.
I'd definitely be excited by that lineup.
I mean, I think he's also a long shot for car number 7. Like, I think it's Lauren. I really do. I feel like it's going to be Lauren. Is that because I hung out with him in the garage at PPM at Coda and Klaus wasn't there? Maybe. Like, is that what my theory hinges on? Is that Lauren Heinrich was in the PPM garage in a different series than the series that I'm talking about him going to? Yes, that is what my theory hinges on. Entirely. That is what my theory hinges on. But I
Am I
like my
surprised?
theory.
No.
Am I surprised?
No.
No, not really.
I mean, then the great reshuffle of PPM happens where I start switching drivers around so that Lauren and Matthew Jaminet end up in a car together with Kevin as their endurance driver.
Yeah. I like to say it's her mixing up lineups to get her, like, dream lineup, and it causes me pain.
Yes, because I'm sending Matt back to the 5 in WEC in my theory. I'm actually moving Julian Anlauer into the 7 to replace Tandy, putting Lauren in Matt's seat with Jam, keeping Kevin in his endurance seat, putting Matt in the 5 with Michael in WEC.
Yeah. She's making me go through divorce again.
Like I
Yes,
said,
but I get the greatest possible lineup I could imagine. Once again, Matt, I've kicked you out of the picture. Sorry.
Yeah.
like I
Poor
said,
Matt.
musical chair.
Her musical chairs cause me pain, and I don't like it.
My musical chairs cause me joy, and I do like it.
Well, I have nothing to say about this, so I'm just gonna watch the two very unbalanced reactions, and I'm going to pipe in again. At the risk of sounding repetitive, this lineup we were just talking about regarding Antares, Klaus, and Loke, and well, I just mentioned Corvette and the Asia Le Mans series. I'm gonna mention them and Asia Le Mans series because they're gonna be driving together. So
Yep.
it's a few months away. I'm excited to see them already. So
And
bear
what
with
are they
me.
driving in the Asian Le Mans series? Because it's a Manti car. It would be
Yeah.
the
Yes.
perfect time to test out everything, to literally use the
Precisely.
WEC engineers they'd be using, basically pre-run the WEC car. I
Yeah.
love my idea. Porsche, hire me, I have ideas.
Hit up the
Oh,
pod
I
for
don't have
your
my
lineups.
straight up Porsche hat over here.
They're
All
gonna
of my Porsche hats over here are PPM hats.
I was
I
gonna say
feel
the
like
only
at
thing
some
I've got is
point-
cowboy hat.
At some point we would be like, if that somehow happened, at some point we would be like, goodness, who gave her this much power?
Put me in charge of the lineups, Porsche. I have so many ideas, and they're all fantastic.
Debatable. Some of them cause pain.
No, they are all fantastic.
Pain.
Fantastic. Well, and then we have unrelated to Porsche rumors of just everything that might happen in WEC in the next 2 years. Like, what's going on with Peugeot? Nick Cassidy and Theo Pourchaire are joining. We know that for sure. That's been announced. But, like, who are they replacing? Because I'm still not sure. There's rumors, I guess, that Mikkel Jensen might be going to McLaren. Like is everybody going to pull an Andre Lauderer and do a gap year now? It sounds like Mick Schumacher might be going there. I'm sure because they're a Formula One team, so
Yeah.
anybody that can possibly get him a chance to go back to Formula One, like,
Which all I'm
just
gonna
give
say
it up
is,
at this point, man.
all I'm gonna
Yeah.
say is this, Mick. Maybe look at how it's going for Pato and IndyCar with his promises of the F1 stuff, and maybe realize the only thing you'd possibly be getting is reserve, which is what you were doing.
Nick, once Alex Pallou's lawsuit is done, talk to him about the stuff Zach Brown will promise you and then back out on. So, like, maybe don't go to McLaren thinking you're going to go to Formula One. And then I guess Paul-Loup Chatin might be in the running for a McLaren seat. I don't know. I thought he was pretty good with Alpine. Alpine likes their French.
I'm just gonna say it. This might surprise people, but for the next one, it will make sense. Save him from Alpine. Get him out. I'd gladly take him at McLaren over Alpine, which from me is saying something, but
Yeah, and then, like, I just don't know what. I guess McLaren looks like they're doing 2 drivers plus endurance. Like, everybody's doing the I guess, more IMSA way of doing it, or it's literally being referred to as the Porsche way now, because Porsche made a big thing of, we are just going to have 2 drivers, although we really are going to have 3 drivers for almost every race. We're just going to use our massive stable of drivers if our normal extra drivers aren't available. But I guess, speaking of part of Porsche's massive stable of drivers, or not anymore, Antonio Felix da Costa is not part of Porsche's Formula E team anymore, but he's gonna be with Alpine, so that's fun.
Yeah, if you can't tell, that's what I mean by save all my drivers from Alpine now, please and thank you. Because I can't support a team that has him on it. I couldn't do it in FE. Not going to be able to do it in WEC if this is true.
Yeah, and then Joda, I don't know, that Mick sounded like he was going there because, again, Cadillac has a Formula One team. So he wanted to go to a team that has a Formula One team. What's next? We're going to get Ferrari rumors from Mick?
You read my mind.
I was about to say, just start making a list of all the teams with F1 connections and Mick will be at their doorstep.
Right?
Precisely, yeah.
It really actually seems like Callum Ilot's gonna make a return to Joda, because, like we said, Deborah Mayer doesn't have money anymore, so...
Prema?
Card declined.
Yep. Yeah. The card's declined, Prema doesn't exist anymore. Callum, welcome back to WEC. Actually, when I talked to him at Road America, he had really good things to say about WEC. He seemed excited to talk about WEC. And that could have just been because normally he gets questions about IndyCar, and I wanted to talk to him about WEC, so he was excited about that. But it seems like he still has a passion for sports car racing, so I think he would fit back in very well at Joda.
Well, I mean, speaking of, he was at the IMSA race this weekend, so, I mean...
Yeah, but it was in Indianapolis, so yes. I really don't put a ton of stock in...
I'm just saying.
His appearance there. Also, Joda is so far disconnected from either Wayne Taylor or Action Express. I think it was more of a, hey, my friends are doing this race and it's in my city that I live in.
Yes.
More than anything. And then, I don't know, it's day by day for me on whether I think that Porsche is going to pull out, because we get different information every day.
Correct.
So, when the information is sounding very much like the decision has been made to leave, I start thinking, okay, like, who's got the money to buy Lawrence Vantor, Kevin Estra out of their Porsche contracts? Because just because the 963 program goes away does not mean those guys are still not Works Porsche drivers that will be placed in some other series. Honestly, I don't know that either of them would complain about driving GT cars full time. Like,
no.
They both do so many GT side quests that I'm not sure they would be upset if they had to go drive GT cars full time. But say a team does want to get one. Say Genesis wants to get one of them. Say, McLaren wants to get one of them. Say Peugeot wants to get one of them. Who else has... Say Ford wants one of them to start up their program. Like, do those brands want to spend that amount of money right at the start? Because it is not going to be small money to buy Lawrence Vantor or Kevin Estra out of their contracts. And then it's probably going to be, if I had to guess, around the same for Andlauer. Because he's young. He's got more of an upside. Sorry, Kevin and Larry, because inevitably this will be the episode you listen to where I'm calling you old. But, Larry, I am older than you, so I can call you old, because that's calling myself old. But there is, I think, more of a long-term upside if you're one of those brands to signing Andlauer, to signing Jaminet, to signing Campbell than there is to signing Christensen, Estra, or Vantor. Like, you've got over a 10-year age difference down to Andlauer, and then you've got approximately a 5-year age difference down to Jaminet and Campbell. And obviously, Genesis signed someone who's a lot older than either of them in Andre Lauderer, but they didn't need to buy him out of a contract. Andre just didn't renew with Porsche. So that's a lot different than having to buy out a long-term works driver. I mean, who even knows when Kevin or Larry's contract is up with Porsche, honestly.
Yeah.
So to me, that's kind of the big stumbling block if you are looking at these guys going to a different team, is just because the 963 program goes away, in theory, that does not end their association with the brand and their contractual obligation to drive for the brand.
Yes. I will say it didn't stop me from making silly connections. I mean, the one that I feel like was the most noticeable ones of silliness to go for was Kevin going to McLaren because,
People
he's
are
been at
saying it
McLaren
legitimately.
before.
He
Yeah.
was a McLaren factory
Exactly.
driver, a decade ago.
Yes.
But he was a McLaren factory driver. I think less obvious ones are the rumor that came out of nowhere of Matthew Jaminet going to Genesis.
Yes.
I don't know where that came from. I haven't seen it again since that one article that mentioned it.
Yeah.
I really think people are basing it on the fact that Jam likes the Genesis posts on Instagram.
Yeah.
I really think that. But he likes. So, the new thing that Instagram has where it pops up who likes posts in little bubbles if you're following them. Matthew Jaminet likes posts from
Everything.
all brands.
Yeah.
You cannot take what Instagram posts Matthew Jaminet is liking as some secret indication of where he may be signing in the future.
Yeah, if you did that, the boy would be at basically every team. But then my other silly connection, just for the giggles, was you get Nasser back to Caddy, and he goes to Joda.
Yeah.
He's driven a Caddy before, albeit it was
True.
a while ago. But it's the same
Yeah.
thing for Kevin and McLaren. So that was my other silly connection that I feel like, of the ones talked about, no one's bringing up that.
So what you're saying basically is all the circles are going to close again. Like the stories are all going to come full circle again. They're just going to end up back where they started.
But, Porsche can actually just stop all of this rumoring by letting us know that they are not ending the 963 program. Slide into the DMs, guys. Let us know that the program's not leaving. Please.
Or we're gonna keep spiraling into this silliness that I've been doing.
Honestly, it feels
suddenly
like
Kevin's going to be at McLaren.
Yes.
Each day,
I don't like McLaren.
Each day, this gets
Kevin,
more
don't
and more
do that to
entertaining.
me.
Yeah.
It gets more entertaining with each pass.
Well, apparently your team, Aries, doesn't have anyone under contract despite having everyone under contract.
Yeah.
So we can look at that.
Yeah, this is weird because as far as I'm concerned, it's been said a long time ago. Yes, Ferrari is sticking with their factory lineups for another year. And then all of a sudden, I'm just reading those rumors in our 256 group chats. This person is going to leave. Oh, this person has not been renewed yet. They've only confirmed 2 people so far, which are Nicholas Newson and Antonio Giovinazzi for another season. So, and then I'm hearing people say, oh, they're moving Yifei from the yellow car to actual factory red cars. Make up your mind, people, because I am confused.
I know.
I swear that not Porsche. that
Not
Ferrari announced, like, around Le Mans that they were keeping the red cars
Yeah.
the same.
Exactly.
Did I hallucinate this?
I was having the same thought process because literally, as all of these things are going on, I was like, am I going insane? Because I'm like, I could have sworn I remember, like, Le Mans,
Same.
we got an announcement that the lineups were confirmed for next year and nothing's changing, and then I keep seeing all these things, and I'm like, someone
Yeah.
please send me help. I'm
And, like,
going
Where are
Ferrari
these
insane.
rumors
fans
coming from?
are saying this. Like, if it was just a bunch of Toyota and Porsche and whatever else fans saying, oh yeah, Ferrari's changing up their lineups, like, the best thing for Toyota and Porsche is for Ferrari to change up their lineups. Like, genuinely, best case scenario is, like, sticking Alessio Rivera in a red car, because he is going to be, like, untested, probably a mess. Dear God, please stick him in the car with Pierre Guidi so that we can just have chaos car. Seriously, though, like, Ferrari fans are the ones saying this, so it doesn't make... There's gotta be something that we missed somewhere with these lineups.
Oh yeah, like I am a Ferrari fan, and I'm as equally lost as you guys are because I am I'm still I don't I'm reading all that stuff that's going on, and I'm like, guys, stop eating cake. Like you're too invested in this, and you're making up a lot of stuff. Like they said they're not changing. Why would they make a U-turn on that with literally 2 months to go in the season? Like doesn't make a lot of sense unless I think the only thing that would make sense would be to someone gets out of the red cars, they move Yifei to one of the two red cars because he's the only factory driver in there, and I don't know, they get Rivera in there, or best case scenario,
The thing...
they get Arthur in there, which I wouldn't complain about, but that's besides the point.
The only real change I could see coming at Ferrari doesn't have to do with the red cars. It would be Robert Kubica retiring.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's the only change I could see coming. And potentially they stick Rivera there.
Could
you
be.
know, just to get him hypercar experience. And then if somebody else is looking at leaving the program in the next year or two, then kind of move Rivera in there after giving him a year in the yellow car. But that, like, the red car changes don't make sense to me. Like, operationally, they don't make sense. Those are two very successful lineups.
Yeah.
Why would you want to break them up?
Makes no sense to me. No sense
I don't know.
at all.
I don't know.
Hence why I thought I was going insane.
Yes, I think we all thought we were going insane. So, like we said at the start, you may be in a weird, awkward situation where your favorite racing driver has, in fact, signed with Penske. And who knows, you may not like Penske. So you may be in just an awkward situation where, you know, your favorite racing driver decided to sign.
I don't have a
with
card,
Penske.
but I think we all
And
know.
you have now figured out that, well, I'm gonna keep supporting him, regardless of who the service provider is, or in your case, as a David Malukas fan, the team he drives for. So, here's your little guide. Your Penske and you. A guide. Step 1. Pretend he doesn't drive for Penske until eventually you just don't care that he drives for Penske. That worked really well for me for all of 2023 and half of 2024. I just pretended Kevin didn't drive for Penske. Kevin was just a Porsche driver. I just paid attention to his GT endeavors and, you know, acknowledged, in fact, that he did drive a Porsche in WEC, but, you know, disregarded the Penske part of it. And then eventually I just stopped caring. And now I have, hold on, let's count my Penske hats. 1, 2, 3, even though this is a Nasser one. 4.
Yeah.
5, even though this is a Gemini one. So yeah, I've given up on caring. Oh, let's look at my tiny Penske cars that are just all over the place. Oh, look. What's that? That's a Penske. Yes. So eventually you just give up and you stop caring.
Yeah.
Hopefully that time comes a lot sooner for you, David Malukas fans, than it did for me, because that was a hard year and a half.
Yes. In my case, it was be in denial until suddenly out of nowhere, you can't be in denial anymore. Really, for me, it's very weird of being in denial because you would have thought, MSR left. So I really had no Fallout team last year that my denial would end then. It didn't. Somehow last season was just like in denial, was like, I just don't have team until really this year. And then you're at the point where you get to a point where you're making your own PPM merch because they don't really have merch. You started making your own merch saying you're making it because you didn't want to have to buy Penske merch. And then suddenly you're actually just making PPM rhinestones where it very clearly says Penske on it. So you can't really be in denial anymore that they aren't a PPM driver.
Yes, so that is your guide, your Penske and you. I do think some stuff's going to change with David Malukas now that he is a Penske driver. He's probably going to get a haircut. That's most likely not on Roger Penske's approved haircut list.
I don't think so.
So I expect him to kind of go a little more back to his rookie look. He's probably going to stop doing quite as much online. He's been known as like a prolific slide into the DMs kind of person, which hopefully his like seemingly stable long-term relationship ended that, but who knows? That just seems like something that maybe isn't going to be looked upon quite as fondly as maybe it was at his previous teams. He is probably, and this is going to anger people, he's probably going to politically swing to the right. And some of you will say, Nicole, what do you mean swing to the right? He's already there. I know that. Some of you may know that, but some of you may not know that. He is probably openly going to seem a little more right-wing. He's not going to stop being silly. That's just his personality. He's not going to lose his personality. And I know people have been comparing him and Joseph Newgarden. And what I think people need to remember is Joseph Newgarden is significantly older than David Malukas. Joseph Newgarden was still acting very much like David Malukas does when he was David Malukas' age. And I expect when David Malukas is in his mid-30s, he will also be acting the way that Joseph Newgarden is currently acting. It's called growing up, guys.
Yeah.
To most people.
I'm just saying, bus bros existed. It's not like that era of Joseph wasn't a thing. So David's not going to suddenly become a completely different person.
Well, you're listening to us, so you've probably seen our posts either on Twitter or on Insta that just a few days ago, on the 20th of September, was marked the first 1 year since our first ever episode was posted on Spotify. I just want to say it does not feel like a year since the Orangery was started. Yeah, it feels way shorter than that, but at the same time it feels like a lifetime because a lot has happened. And well, at the risk of sounding corny, I hope this is the first of many.
Yes. I honestly can't believe some of the stuff that we've done with this show in a year. For me, I'll speak just on my own behalf. I obviously talked about how I've been going to races for a long time, meeting drivers for a long time, but there is a huge difference between going up and asking a driver for an autograph or a selfie and going up and saying, hey, walk with me, I want to ask you some questions. That is something that pushed me way outside my comfort zone that I never would have done without this show. I never wanted to be a content creator. During COVID, I had people ask why I wasn't creating motorsport content when everybody else in the universe decided to start creating motorsport content. I never wanted to be a content creator. I never wanted to be an influencer, but this show pushed my comfort zone. It pushed my boundaries to the point where, I am comfortable now doing interviews, where I am comfortable interacting with drivers on a lot more, I guess, casual level than, hi, can I have your autograph, please? Like, it has pushed me as a person, and that's something that I think is really awesome. So, if you are thinking about trying to start something, just take the leap.
Yeah. I almost feel like we need a cake. A cake's supposed to appear out of somewhere with candles. We don't have that, so don't expect that to be coming out of anywhere, but it feels like that's what we should have. It's crazy to think that it's been a year. Like Ari says, it feels like we just started this yesterday, but also somehow at the same time feels like we've been doing this for forever. And it's crazy just to, even when you look at things, see our tiny little jumps that we made from recording things on our phones with no microphones and no headphones, to getting mics and then headphones and doing that sort of stuff, to then getting interviews and then doing our first in-person episode with me and Nick together after a race weekend. The tiny little things that we've even been able to do within a year to just improve our content has been great to see, crazy to think about, and it's just going to keep, hopefully, getting better. So stick around for that.
On to year 2.
Absolutely. And thanks for listening. As always, you can find us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Orange Flag Pod on Twitter. Nicole is at Nicole on Racing, Austin is at Hendrik Claren, and Aries is at Aries_Alpenglow.
Stay orange.
For another year.